Hi, you entrepreneurs. Today we have Sharifah Hardie. She is a woman of many hats. She is the CEO of XroadsTV, InTheNewsPR.com, and InTheNewsMagazine. She also is the co-founder of PoweredByPurposeTour.com, and she is an author. She was homeless. She had a kid at the age of 18. She worked for a company for free for a couple of years, for 3 years, and then got paid 2 years and got laid off. And finally, at that point, she goes, I need to start my own business. It really is an impressive story. Take a listen. Please subscribe. Tell your friends.
Welcome to the road to growth. Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with real estate agent Vinny SD.
All right, we are here with Sharifah Hardie. She is a woman of many hats, so be ready for this. She is the CEO of XroadsTV.com, InTheNewsPR.com, and InTheNewsMagazine.com. She is also the co-founder of the PoweredByPurposeTour.com and an author.
Yes.
That's a lot of hats right there. I think I can only do one of those. So your passion right now, I know you have a lot of hats, but your passion right now is your book.
Yes.
Okay. So before we get into that, tell us what brought you to wearing all those different hats, made you focusing on this book. What brought us to the point we are today?
What brought me to the point where I am today is a whole lot of layoffs.
Okay.
I was laid off over 7 times, lost everything, was homeless a couple of times, been through a lot of divorces, and, well, I won't say a lot, 2, but that's enough. That's enough, Vinny. And I always had this feeling that I didn't come this far to only get this far. And so every time I would start a job, I would get laid off. And finally I said, you know what? I have to work for myself. I have to build my own empire. And the other thing that I learned from being laid off so many different times is not to put all of your eggs in one basket. And so I learned to diversify. So one company, even now, I may focus on that company maybe 3 days, hard and just focusing on building this company. Then the other days, I'm like, okay, well, let me do this for the other companies. But I just have to diversify in order to have multiple streams of income.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what drove you? Well, what gave you this drive? Because you're homeless, you're divorced. Like most people would be like, I'm just gonna stay homeless, or I'm gonna give up on love. Like, what gave you that drive to just keep fighting through?
That's like the number one question people ask me.
Yeah.
And I tell them, as far as the drive for business, everything I did stemmed from my children. I had my daughter when I was 18 years old. I built my first website in 1994. I had a website when most people didn't even have computers in their homes. And I've been online ever since. But all I wanted to do was to be a stay-at-home mom. When I was laid off and I was struggling, I was losing everything, I still had these kids who were like, Mom, we're hungry. And I'm like, I gotta feed these kids. I gotta figure this out. And so that was always my drive. I never had a point where I said, okay, I want to be a CEO. I never planned to be a CEO. I just knew at some point I had to have control of my destiny, control of my life. And the only way to have control, because I knew I wasn't going to lay myself off, was to create my own company and my own businesses.
Oh, wow, okay. So that push you got from those kids, feeding them, was like that driving force to.
Yes.
Wow. Are you going to remind that every day as they get older?
Well, now they're 25 and 21, you know what I mean? So, yes, what I do now, especially with my 21-year-old, my daughter's in St. Louis, but my son who lives with me, he always asks me for advice on business, on life. And so now I'm like, okay, Mom's going to bill you. You know what I mean? Like, I want to charge you for my time. But, yes, they're going to have to pay for all that sacrifice.
So tell us a little about your book. What's the book about?
My book is Signs You Might Be an Entrepreneur, How to Discover the Entrepreneur in You. And it's basically like my radio show. I started on Blog Talk Radio in 2009. And the reason I decided to do that was people kept asking me questions. What about this? What about that? And I'm like, oh, we going to nip all of that in the bud. We're going to answer questions 1 hour a day on Blog Talk Radio. And so I stopped doing a radio show, and now in 2019, I focus on my video cast, where I sit down with entrepreneurs, business owners, and I discuss their business. And I began to see that many of them had the same questions. And so I said, okay, let me come up with a way to answer some of these questions for everyone. And so I just released the book this month.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, now, the next question would be, what are some of those questions? What are those answers? Or what are the big ones, at least?
Well, I'll give you the big ones, and I think it's simple sometimes, but it's really life-changing. Is people want to know how some people are successful and then some people aren't. Yeah. Some people can build or create multi-million-dollar companies, where some people with the same skills, the same abilities, their businesses aren't necessarily successful. So what I do is I try to make them understand that it's not the type of business that you have, it's not the product, it's not the service, it's your commitment to that business, something that you will do day in and day out, rain or shine, just like the post office, because it's not a hobby. And even in my speaking engagements, one of the first questions I ask is, you have to ask yourself, do you want to create a business, or do you want to have a hustle? And those are two different things. And I'm not judging either one, but hustles are operated a certain way, whereas businesses are operated a certain way. And so if you want to create a business or a successful business, you have to have the mindset of a business owner. And one of the things that I do is I try to help entrepreneurs really get that word out of their vocabulary. You're a business owner, even if you're the only one that's employed in this business. So that way you're allowed to make the business grow as opposed to just thinking, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, because then they expect their income to be up and down, their work to be up and down. A business has set business hours. Businesses are open at certain hours. Businesses operate in certain ways, no matter what the business is. And so those are some of the things I discuss in my book.
Wow. That's a powerful way of looking at stuff right there. Mm-hmm. Are you a business owner or entrepreneur?
It is, but it's the truth, and it's a mindset. It really is a mindset.
So have you always had that mindset, or what kind of hurdles or struggles you've had to overcome to be this powerful woman right now that has that understanding?
Life, again, being laid off 7 times. And when I was first laid off, the first couple of times, it really affected me emotionally, because people don't understand the mindset of someone who's been laid off. When you're fired from a job, even if you don't want to go home and tell your spouse, oh, I was fired, you know you did something wrong. When you quit a job, most people don't quit a job unless they have something lined up. Yeah. They want to be a stay-at-home spouse, a stay-at-home parent. They have another job lined up. They're moving across the country, but there's usually a reason why they're leaving that job. Yeah. Whereas when you're laid off, you go to work thinking everything is wonderful. I remember having perfect attendance awards and employee of the month awards, and I get my award, and 2 days later they're like, oh, this is your last day. I'm like, wait a minute, look at the award, So I learned a lot of different skills, and so it affected me. But then after a while, especially when I went to one interview and a person looked at my resume, and he said, you have the resume of an engineer. And my whole mindset changed, because I had picked up so many different skills from the jobs that I work for, that I can do anything from building a website to networking computers to marketing to PR. I had this skill set, and I said, you know what? And it's funny, I tell people, with all of this, I went to college to be an accountant. So it's like, I said, okay, well, let me create my business and stop looking at it as an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs sometimes have more of the attitude of someone who is unemployed. They may try MLM, they may try to create a little business, but they don't necessarily expect it to be long-term or something that will be able to give them full-time income. And so I want to get them out of that mindset, just like I had to get myself out of that mindset and said, you know what? I'm a business owner. That's what I am. So
what was the deal with the 7th layoff? What was that driving force to say, I'm going to start a business? What was lucky number 7?
It was lucky number 7. It really was. And it's one of the companies that I talk about. It was the last company that I worked for, which was BOTI Studios. And I spent 3 years without a paycheck, helping to build this company, doing the business plan, doing the website, doing the marketing. You know, I was an Uber driver, but I believed in this company, so I did a lot to build this company. And then from 2016 to 2018, I started to get a paycheck, but then that was let go in March of 2018.
So you gave 3 years of no paycheck, and then you got 2 years of paycheck and let
Yes.
go.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. People were like, I can't believe, but it's life. And I had to go and fly on my own. And I said to myself, that is the last time I'm going to work for anybody else, you know, because everybody was saying, Sharifah, you built that company. You built that company. We did the business plan for that company sitting at my mother's kitchen table. We took the business plan, turned it into the SEC filings to take the company public, raised millions of dollars. I was the director of marketing for the company, took the social media from 0 followers to almost 30,000 followers just on Facebook, you know, right. So if you can do this for yourself, for someone else, then you can do this for yourself. And after that, I said, you know what? I'm just going to do me.
So what was the secret sauce to get from 0 followers to 30?
There's no secret sauce at all. You know, it's social media, followers, fans. It's really easy. People ask, should you pay for followers? I always say you're technically paying for followers when you pay Facebook. When you pay for Facebook advertising, that's what you're paying for. You're not going and paying for 500 followers or 1,000 followers. But when you pay to increase the reach of the amount of people who see your post, then technically that's what you're doing. So Facebook advertising, paying for the post, boosting the post, more people seeing your post, that increases it. Someone sees your post, they like your post, go into that post and invite that person who has liked the post to like your page. That's the only time Facebook allows you to reach out to someone who has not already a part of your page, because they figure, hey, if you like this, then you'll like everything. And so I would do that. I always tell people, no matter what a person says on your page, whether it's good or bad, always respond to every comment. If you respond to a comment that someone took the time to say to you, those people will stay engaged, because that's really what builds followers, is the engagement that a page has.
Interesting. So every comment, just basically respond to it.
Everything. I mean, even if they don't like you or don't agree with you, just, we appreciate your feedback. Thank you. You know, we love hearing from you. But people feel wonderful because they've heard from you and you've responded to them, because they took enough time to care about you, your business, and what you're doing. And if you respond to them, they'll stay active, they'll share your post, and it'll come up faster on their timeline.
So if you could look back and talk to that pregnant woman, you know, in 18 years old, or someone else in a similar situation, what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh, wow. If I could look back at myself at 18, I was so far ahead of my time that I didn't know it. If I would have known then how far ahead of my time I was, I would have bought every domain name I could. You know what I mean? That is the one thing that I regret more than anything else, is that I didn't buy all these, because now you have to buy a 3-word domain. Back in 1994, you can get every 1-word domain, 2-word domains. I would purchase a lot of domains. And then I would tell my younger self, or whoever's listening, don't quit. Don't listen to other people, because if you have a vision of a business or something that you want to do, that vision is for you. Yeah. Everybody around you is not necessarily going to understand your vision. And that's what happened to me. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And I knew then, everybody didn't understand it, but I knew the internet was the only way that I would be able to be a stay-at-home mom and create some income. And people around me literally told me I was lazy. Not because of how much money I made, but because in the 1990s, the philosophy was, if you don't go out to work, you're lazy. And so I was like, okay, but I'm making money. Like, you got to get a job. That's not real. That internet only lasts 2 years. It's not, you know, working from home back in the 90s was unheard of. Yeah. Now in 2019, people literally laugh at you. They like, oh, you go to work? Like, nobody goes to work. That's like so 1990, you know, to go to work, you know. Yeah. So I always tell people, don't listen to anybody else. Some of the people who love you the most can impede your progress in ways that they don't. The people who love you, they will impede your progress.
Well, sometimes they don't know better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why. They're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to kill your dreams.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially parents, they try to protect us.
Yeah.
And in their generation, nobody worked from home.
Yeah.
So it's logical for them to say, you have to go and get a job,
Yeah.
you know? So that's why I tell younger people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. They think it's out of love, but it's really under not having the knowledge. What's next? I know you have the book. What's your plans? Like, it sounds like you're gonna have a couple more companies in the near future. So what's the future plans for you?
My passion through all of it is all the same. I love to help people, you know, so I don't know how I'm going to do that next, but I love to help people. I love to talk with people. I love to speak with people. And so I'm creating more and more opportunities, especially through my video cast, which I do through Zoom, but I broadcast on Facebook Live, and I do 3 to 5 interviews a day. So right now, that's my primary focus, is how can I help people? How can I, you know, I met this cool guy named Vinny. He's wonderful, what he does, but how can I take what he has and share it with the world? So that's really what I'm doing right now.
So are you asking me to be on your...
That's what I just did. That was my subtle way of saying, come holler at me. Yes.
Fair enough. So if there's a business owner out there, not an entrepreneur, a business owner out there,
yes,
that's looking to get in contact with you, what's the easiest way or the best way to get in contact with you?
My website is AskSharifah.com, and Sharifah is SHARI, F is in Frank, AH. So AskSharifah.com, or I always tell people I'm simple. Just call me, 562-822-0965. Again, that number is 562-822-0965.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate all your time. And it is a powerful question. Are you a business owner or entrepreneur? We're not going to change the name of the show, but you know, it's still okay either way. All right. But definitely, I appreciate all your time, Sharifah. All you entrepreneurs, I hope you actually got some good knowledge out there. Just fight through. You know, even if you're homeless, have a kid, you think you have so many hurdles in front of you, you just got to keep pushing through, because you're going to get to where you need to get to.
Well, don't change the name, Vinny, because it's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur. Just understand that the entrepreneur is one step. Just make that first step and just keep going until you have a corporation.
See? See? I made a good choice. All right, guys out there? So please share, tell your friends, and hey, put your comments in there, and because I'm going to respond to them. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Road to Growth, Success of an Entrepreneur. Please like, subscribe, and stay connected. Visit www.VinnySD.com.
Yeah, I created a website.
Hope to see you again next week. Team Vinny SD, signing off.